Hi, this is Ruth Royall and this is how I laid down the vocal for my new track, New Ride. So I use a little bit of hardware in my vocal chain. I have a Focusrite ISA preamp, which I really love. It gives quite a lot of warmth to my vocal tone. I also have an AKG 414 microphone, which is a vintage one, and it's beautiful. And I really think that also adds to the quality of vocal. I've also got my Focusrite interface. I kind of like to approach vocals with a kind of like a gospel, soulful feel, try to keep them fairly raw. I don't like to overprocess my vocals too much, and I do think that means having a really great mic, a really great preamp is really important. So once I've got the vocals into my project, I do use Logic to record. I tend to, if I'm working on the instrumental myself or if I'm using somebody else's instrumental, I'll start a whole new project for vocals, just so I don't overload everything. So here it is, here's the project for New Ride. What I did was lay the vocals down, do all of my processing, and then I'll bounce that in place and take that over into the other project where we're working on the instrumental. So this one I've got quite a lot of backing vocals going on. Always like to pan my backing vocals around to kind of give that sort of choral effect, which is nice, give it lots of space. This one was quite like a belty song as well, so yeah, I think I ended up doing quite a lot of processing. I find vocals easier to produce when they're really soft, but I really kind of went in for this one, so worked quite a lot on that. So I tend to use the reverb that I really love to use on my vocal is Valhalla. I don't really do anything that special to it, just stick it on as it is. Sometimes I'll roll a bit of the low end off. For this one I just kind of left it as it was. I put two reverbs on this. I sometimes like to do one, I did a plate reverb as well, which I kind of like panned slightly, so it kind of felt like a bit more roomy, which is always quite fun. Again, that kind of like feeds into that more sort of gospel-y live vocal, which I really like. I was talking to RKC, who's an amazing producer, and she was saying that you should always like try to fill the space with vocals. So, you know, if you have like a vocal that just cuts off and then nothing happens, it sometimes doesn't work with the track. So actually filling that space with reverb and you know, delays and things like that is really good, and you can experiment with different kinds of delays and, you know, different reverbs and stuff. So the other thing that I always use on my vocal is Nectar. I use it mainly for the compressor, but you can do all sorts on it. It's got loads of really great presets. So this is the one that I like to use, big wide lead. I tend to stick this one on and then like take everything off it, like take all the reverb and delay off it and just use like the EQ and the compressor, but it seems to work really well for my vocal. But there's loads of different presets you can use, and then you can also just go into the plugin itself and you know, do your own thing, which is great. But I find that it works really well with my vocal. It was actually Graphics that put me onto this this plugin when I was working with him on Refuge, and I was like, oh, you just get such a crisp sound on my vocal, and he was like, Nectar, you've got to get Nectar. So I did. The other thing I use, I compress my voice quite heavily. So this is a compressor that I use, which is a free one, which is quite nice. So you can kind of, this vocal has been bounced in place, so you can kind of piece by piece. So you can hear that the vocal is quite compressed. We keep building what we want to see. But yeah, I was quite pleased with how it came out. I also like, whenever I'm recording, I record in mono, but when I bounce it in place, it's then in stereo, and it just kind of gives it, like, again, a wider sound. It kind of spreads it out a little bit, which is what you want, I think, with a vocal, especially with like dance music or, you know, pop music. You want the vocal to take up quite a lot of space. I did a little bit of like chopping. I'm really into chopping my vocals up at the moment. Nothing technical. I don't literally will just chop up the vocal and create some really chunky delay. And I quite like the fact that it's so brutal. Like, it's not, you know, I'm sure I could do that with delays and all sorts of things, but I quite like the fact that it's just like literally a chopped up vocal, and I've been doing that quite a lot in my stuff at the moment. So yeah, that is kind of the basis of what I did with the new ride, vocal processing and production, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I think it came out quite well.